Without a shadow of a doubt, it's the crunkiest show in social media history. I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone. I got my man Donovan Sadiq in the building, the Queen Demetra K, and I am the 5-star general. There's crime all over America, and the crime is saturated in the black neighborhood. What we got to do to fix it? Who's at fault? We're going to talk about it tonight, and we want you to be interactive with us. Let's get down to it, man. Say, man, I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone and tell you thank you for taking the time out to tune in. You know you guys are the best audience in the world, and without y'all, we wouldn't have a show, so we're very grateful to have you take the time out to come and hang out with us. I don't really have nothing. I jumped on a plane this morning. I'm back in Houston, and I'm already starting good trouble because that's what I do as soon as I hit the city. Gonna be here for a little bit, see if we can help some people. So, Saturday afternoon, 6 p.m., we shoot the video for Make 'em Mad at Yates High School, and then Sunday, I'm going into Scott Plaza to help my people. So it is what it is. If you're down with it, show up to help me, man. Just let's pass this stuff out to these people and help those that are not as fortunate as some of us. Donovan, what's happening?
All right, you guys, we're almost made it to the end of the week. Now, nobody that I knew got shot, so that's a good thing. But in the news today, Kamala Harris is about to end. If not, she hasn't returned to the United States yet. As you guys know, they told her to mind her business and handle your own problems and all that other good stuff. And, it just doesn't make sense how we as a nation could go and solve other people's problems, but we can't seem to solve the Negro problem here in the United States, which is something to talk about. Joe Biden is still out and abroad. He's with his white homies out there, his original players, because we know Joe Biden keeps talking about how Irish he is, and he's in England kicking it with Boris, whatever his name is, the Prime Minister of England. So he's having a ball over there in his whiteness, not caring if his agenda has stalled and all the promises he made comes true or not. He's not concerned about it because, unlike you guys, we have figured it out. Democrat, Republican, no difference when it comes to white supremacy. This is how they get down. One party controls for a while, then the other party controls for a while. So, and also Sidney Powell, the attorney for Donald Trump, she said she has the evidence of the rigged election. And, she has it, and she's waiting for discovery from the ballot people who are suing her for like $1.4 billion or $4.1 billion or something like that. She says she has the proof, and so does the MyPillow guy. He says he has the proof. They're waiting for discovery. What are you waiting for? If you have the proof, let's see it. And they've been saying that for a long time, but I want you guys to say this for me. Trump cultists. This is what happens when white people just have basically verified that they lost their mind. Demetra?
So hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday night edition of the War Zone. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you could do us a favor and share this live so everybody else can get the information and join in on the conversation, we would greatly appreciate it. Really quick, I went to the Black Cowboy Museum in Roseburg, Texas, right outside of, I guess it's Houston, but it was about 30 miles or so away from me. I actually learned of the Black Cowboy Museum on the documentary on Netflix called High on the Hog. My daughter, my niece, and I were looking at it, finishing it up yesterday, and we realized that it was so close, and so we decided to go visit the museum. And it was started by a Black cowboy by the name of Larry Callies, and he showed us all around the museum. It's been there 4 years. He talked about a lot of things that a lot of people didn't know, and he said to me, "You're only the second person to come in here to know what this badge meant." He says nobody else knew but you. And he said the other person that knew actually told me what it was meant. So he was like, I got my work cut out for me. So But I won't tell you what all the stuff he said because he's writing a book, and I impress upon you guys to go check it out. Black-owned business. That you'll learn a lot about Black cowboys, and that we were the original cowboys, not what you see in Hollywood. So anyway, tonight we're going to talk about Black crime in America, why it's taking place, and what can be done about it. But just, really quickly, we being Black people make up about 12 to 13, 14% of the population, depending on who you ask, to that of 60% of white people. And I think it's about 40 Hispanic and 18, I'm sorry, 8 Asian or something like that. And, a lot of times you hear people say, especially white supremacists, they'll say, oh, well, Black people are doing most of the crime. What about Black on Black crime? And so they always like to bring up the murder statistic, where it says in 2019, white people committed about 5,000 murders and manslaughter that was done on purpose, if you will, to that of Black people, which is about 5,500 murders. Now, we lead in murders, robberies, and like gambling or something like that, but everything else, white people lead in that. But that's what they like to throw around a lot, to say that, we need to do something about Black on Black crime. Now, disproportionately, yeah, that's a lot, being that we are a lot less of the 60% of white people's population. But we also know that Black on Black crime is not a thing, right? It's not this phenomenon, just like white on white crime, Asian on Asian crime is not a thing. Murder is, and crime in general, is about proximity and who you live closest to. And so we tend to live closer to each other. So there is an issue, in our communities. We're not saying that there's not. So we're going to talk about why and what we can do to curtail it, if you will. So Gary.
And not to speak on the mass shootings by white people. They never throw that statistic in there at all.
They seem to leave it out all the time. I agree. Yeah, we have a pandemic within itself, and it's crime in the Black community. And what can we do? And the reason I brought this up to you was I saw something that Mayor Turner said in Houston. I think it was yesterday, that we need the community to help the police department. We gave you a plan. The plan actually works to slow down violence, and you've yet to institute the plan. You've been sitting on it for 3 years. So that makes me believe in my heart that you want to feed the prison system. You see, if you think about it, we talk about money. We talk about stocks and stock options. You feel me? Am I right? Well, guess what? Anybody got some stock options in some private prisons? That asks you to go and look at some of these people campaign finance reports and see where they get money from. And then if you can get a hold of where they invest their money, a lot of politicians invest in private prisons. So do they really want the crime to stop? Because you don't have a problem with the crime going on in the Black community, but you will never allow that type of crime to go on in a white community. You will stop it in a heartbeat. You will do whatever you need to do. But that makes me believe that they want to feed the prison system. Because when the pandemic hit, remember, they stopped taking people in jail. They wasn't shipping nobody to the prisons. You see what I'm saying? So now that the pandemic is easing up, it's going haywire. It's going haywire. So there's a root cause to a lot of this. And tonight we're going to get into it, and we're going to talk about some of those root causes. And then, you guys be interactive. Give us some insight on this thing, because I'm going to tell you something, man. We got to do something. It's out of control. Too many kids. And I'm not talking about 15, 16-year-old kids. I'm talking about 5, 6-year-old kids are being shot and murdered. and nobody's ringing the damn alarm? Or is it true that the only time you're going to give a damn about a black man is when a white man puts his knee on your neck for however many minutes? Well, down here in my hood, they ain't doing that. They killing babies. So let's talk about it. Donovan?
Yeah, man, it just seems everything negative that goes in law enforcement always is annotated to the black community. And that's one of the problems of the stigmas that they throw at us, is that everything with black people is negative. We're the highest crime rate. You name this, you name that, it's all our fault. You want to, do something, just blame it on the black person, as we see that's the playbook that they use all the time. But yeah, if you go back in politics, you will find that a lot of your politicians that do not do anything about crime or address it have stocks in the prison industrial complex. Hillary Clinton had it. Bill Clinton has it. Joe Biden has it. If you look at their portfolio, which they don't like to bring up, but you will find, look at their campaign donations. This is how you can tell who does what. Look at their 460s here in California. It's called the 460. And you look at who donates to them, and you will find on the national level in politics, you have to be, of course, friendly to the military industrial complex. I don't care if you're a pacifist or not. Everybody supports the military if you want to get elected. And you will find that they get a lot of their donations from the prison systems. Now, the private prison systems are a problem, and it is a part of the 1994 crime bill. This is what incentivizes the 1994 crime bill, because it incentivizes the states and local police departments to arrest everybody, to fill those prisons to a 90% capacity to turn a profit. How many times several years ago you would find judges in Pennsylvania? Do you remember these stories in Pennsylvania where the judges were sentencing kids to these prisons? And then they finally got to the judge and sentenced him, or he, resigned, or she resigned, because they were getting kickbacks from these prisons. So there is an incentive to put people and lock people away. The young man that was killed in Minnesota during the Chauvin trial, why did he say he was stopped? He was stopped. From what his mother said, the last thing she had talked to him was he had an air freshener dangling from his mirror, which is a crime, misdemeanor type crime, because it's not supposed to obstruct your view or whatever this bullshit is. But guess what? They stopped him based on that, and then it escalated to look for warrants and all this other stuff. So if we're going to talk about how great this Biden administration is, or any administration is, here's the author of that crime bill, and yet he's talking nothing about repealing that bill, which incentivizes the states and local police departments to do what they do. For every dollar that they spend incarcerating a person, the federal government gives them $1.
So we also know, if we're talking about the cause of crimes, well, the cause of crimes, it really ranges from a whole host of things, right? Some people just do crimes because that's just what they want to do. But we know that it's prevalent in our neighborhood due to a lack of resources. And that's done by design. Again, when you incarcerate the man, back in the day, the man was the breadwinner. You incarcerate him due to crack cocaine and just a whole bunch of stuff. Well, you guys remember you've heard about it, the leasing program that took place shortly after slavery during the height of Jim Crow, where Black people were being locked up for any and everything. And so
you were in Rosenberg today, right?
Yes.
They did major convict leasing in Rosenberg.
Yeah, I'm going to actually go back so I can learn a little bit more about it. But yeah, so for those of you guys who don't know what convict leasing is when people were in prison and then corporations can rent or lease human beings from the prison system in order to do hard labor. And they said that during the convict leasing program, that it was in a lot of cases worse than slavery. And many of the convicts that were leased didn't survive due to the harsh treatment by the person who leased them, and just starvation and all of that. And so if you rob a neighborhood or a community of its resources, then the next thing is to turn to crime. And a lot of it is out of survival. You got to also remember, especially when you're talking about men, a man is going to do what a man is going to do. A man is not going to sit up and watch his family or himself starve and go without the basic necessities. And so when you take those things, it does cause crime to go up. And then, of course, they get sent to, sent to prison, for many years for, again, the 3 strikes law, which came out of the 94 crime bill. And Joe Biden, he, was a big supporter of that, put his name on it, had Black people going to jail for stealing pizza, for 25 to life. So, I think we need to deal with first the lack of resources and how we can go about creating resources. Now, again, keeping in mind that during Black Wall Street, we had a lot of resources. The resources we had came from us. And so those are the things we already knew how to do. Of course, it was taken from us, but we got to figure out how to get back to that so we can lessen the amount of our people going to jail due to the lack of resources.
Let's talk about funding. In the state of Texas, it costs about $3,400 to educate a child per year. In the state of Texas, it costs $34,000 per year to incarcerate that child. Now, you do everything in your power to kick them out of the school system so they don't have a diploma. They end up in the prison system. They can't get a parole date until they have at least a GED. So that's why you see so many guys that go to prison and get GEDs, because they won't let them out unless they get the GED. So would they rather, have them get the education in the school system or the prison system? In the prison system, yeah, they'll spend $34,000 to incarcerate you, but they'll make that back off you in less than 3 months because they're gonna work the hell out you while you're there. So there's root causes to a lot of this stuff that's going on in the community. A lack of resources is what Demetrius said. And that is the one thing that me and Dr. Muhammad, Reginald Gordon, we continuously preach to city government. You don't need more cops. You need more resources. You need people to be able to make a livable wage so that they can supplement the dope money and get out of the streets so that they can take care of their families. Demetra just said something I say all the time. I can't tell a man not to take care of his family. I can't, because I knew I had to hit the streets and I had to do what I had to do for my family. God bless me because, I made it out of there. And a lot of us don't make it out. So, Donovan, I really want to talk about the violence that's being perpetuated in our communities. So let's talk about the firepower. Let's talk about the actual guns. Where do these guns come from? Where do this dope come from? If you guys will just take the time out, you like to watch all these programs, Coming to America 2 and all that, go watch Narcos. It will tell you everything from the weed game all the way up to the crack cocaine game. It will show that the U.S. government is the ones that are in bed with the drug dealers. It will show that the U.S. government is the ones that are pumping the guns into the communities. Now, they're not pumping the guns into the white communities, they're pumping them into the black communities. So basically, they're giving us the ammo to kill each other. On top of that, you have this old garbage music out here that's poisoning these kids' minds, that's gassing them up to do the things that they do. Now, a kid spends most of their day, 85% of their day in a school system. Am I correct? Now, I told people, Demetra, I don't know if you saw yesterday, North Forest High School in Houston, a kid got shot on the campus. Got shot in his hand or his finger. Well, hold on. Didn't you just move the principal from North Forest a few weeks ago? You promoted her. You put a new principal on the campus, which I think in the end will probably do a decent job. The problem was the old principal made them kids come into the building every morning and check backpacks. She checked every single backpack to make sure that no guns ended up on her campuses. You see what I'm saying? But the question is, it's easier for a kid to get a gun on the street than it is for them to find a bullshit job right now. It's easier for them to find guns. Why is it so accessible to our children, Donovan?
Great question. Great question. I have one of a possible of a lot of answers, but I've got one of them. How many of you guys have recently heard that the United States government is pulling out of Afghanistan? We've recently pulled out of Iraq. Now, we've been in Afghanistan for over 20 years. How much military equipment have we flown over there and just put into that country, right? A lot of us in the military, you know, there's a lot of firepower over there, right? And we go over there and we assist and we train the Afghan nationals and whoever else we're supposed to be helping democracy, right? But guess what? After 20 years of being over there, we don't want those guns back because guess what? You, the taxpayer, has already paid for those weapons. So we don't want that back. So we come back over, we come back with our new weapons that we have and we're all good, right? But what happened to the old weapons? There's a report that came out last year, and there was a report 6 years prior to that dealing with Iraq, where American troops were being fired on by American weapons. So what happens to all of this excessive military surplus stuff? As you guys know, a lot of it goes to our police departments. But then, check this. Yeah, you see that big armored personnel vehicle with the police department, which I don't understand. A police department needs an armored personnel vehicle. But check this. As they're bringing those surplus weapons back, they bring some of the surplus arms back. And guess where those arms end up? In the Black community, on the market, sold. That's why you have a 14-year-old kid in Houston, Texas, 5th Ward, New York City, that has a AK-47. Because let's face it, we don't have the resources to fly this stuff in. We don't have the resources to get past, all the stuff that we get to. So it's getting in here and we're giving it into the community because it's surplus military equipment. They want us to kill ourselves.
D?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We know where most of the guns come from. They are supplied just like the drugs. I mean, anybody who has a Google, knows this. I mean, that's why I say people should just really do some research. I know, some guns, yeah, they are there. They come from us, but the supply of guns and the supply of drugs, we don't have the means to bring those in. I saw that comment too, Ragnar. Yes, Ragnar, how you doing? Veteran for Trump.
He makes a good point. No, sir, you had other options. You made a choice. You damn right I made a choice. The choice I made is not to sit there and let my parents suffer because I couldn't find a job. So at the end of the day, the brand new lotto for Black people was the dope game. And stop talking down on it, because somewhere in there, you done got some dope money, pimp.
Yeah, you say, you had the other options. Or sure, people have other options, but I think we'd all be mistaken to say that what has been done to Black people in America, is a tragedy. It hasn't been done to anybody else but Black people in America. And it's done by design. It's been proven over and over and over again. And, unfortunately, people do things that are against the law in order to survive. And so, yeah, are there other options? Yeah. Now, the other option would be is if we as Black people would pool our resources together and, be self-sufficient to where one of ours gets, a bum rap and goes and gets a felony and they come back home and we could offer our own people jobs, right? because we understand what is going on. But a lot of times when people get out of jail from a felony, especially our people, it's hard for them to find jobs. So not only do they got to get out of jail, they have a probation or parole officer, which they got to report to. They got all these fees and stuff they got to pay for. Then they got to find the job, and then they got to find somewhere to live if they're not inside the halfway house. And a lot of times the halfway house, they got to pay for that. So you're expecting somebody who's gotten out of prison and God knows how long they've been in there to come out and be totally self-sufficient when the system is stacked against them. And so a person's going to come out of jail or prison. They're going to try to do their best. And then if they don't, then what? They just sit on a park bench and say, well, I'm going to just sit here and rot to death. I'm just going to watch my family starve. You get creative. I mean, I think sometimes we do get elitist in our thought process. Well, you've had other options you could have done. You could have went. Yeah, but let's be realistic. Let's be realistic when we say you had other options. Like, let's look at the whole story and then say, okay, well, what options did you have available? What options did you have available? You went and knocked on many doors and they told you no. Sorry, you're a felon. A lot of times the people leave that off and they get found out. What happens? They get fired. So are there other options? Sure. But are we remiss if we don't deal in reality? Yeah, well, we're very remiss. So I think we need to tell the truth. And you say, yeah, still there's no reason to break the law, but you got a Trump hat on and that mofo broke the law every day since he's been the president. But I'm sure that doesn't matter to you, right? Only when it comes to us.
The recidivism rate of incarcerated individuals going back to prison is at an all-time high. Prison does not rehabilitate anybody. It doesn't. I don't give a damn what you say. Now, unless you've been there or you really know the research, not the bullshit data. What you just said, Dimitri, when a man get out of jail, he got a felony on his back. 90% of the jobs will not hire him. What is he supposed to do? He gets out, he wants to do the right thing. Okay, the first thing he try to do, might have some money saved up. Man, I got to find me somewhere to stay. They don't want to give him nowhere to stay because he has a felony. So what are we supposed to do? See, all this plays into the violence aspect. So when you push a man in a corner and he has no other option, Raglan, I can't remember your name, but he will violate the law because a man gonna do whatever a man gotta do. And if you didn't violate the law, kudos to you, my friend. But the laws are not made in favor of us. I'm gonna give you an example. The laws that are in place right now and all this foolishness with this bail reform is letting certified killers out of jail on multiple bails. Some white woman kills a little white boy, her bail through the roof. Now that's normally, we look at that a different way, Donovan. You see what I'm saying? But the game is set up right now for you to get out on multiple bails. No, they know that the history of these people, they're violent. They're going to get out. They're going to keep doing it. So 13th to 14th time, they finally get them. Can somebody tell me why that white woman bail was so high? Off the muscle? Now, people be like, oh, that's a good thing. No, I get it, but you don't understand the reverse psychology of what they're doing to our people. Prison does not rehabilitate anybody. It doesn't rehabilitate anybody. God forbid you go in there with a mental illness. You get no help in there when you get out. For when you get out. And then you let them out on the streets. What they supposed to do. But if you want to have this conversation and you want to make excuses for them people, then I'm good with that. I get that you will never admit that the law was violated on January 6th. You will never admit that those white folk that broke the law on Capitol Hill, they were not treated like black people. they were not treated like black people. You see what I'm saying? How the fuck you get to pick your dietary restraints in the prison system? Man, you know how many black people in there ain't supposed to eat that shit? But a white boy said, I can't eat this. So they get him all organic food. Stop making excuses for your people. I see the Trump hat. I get it. But at the end of the day, they'll remind you too that you ain't nothing but an end, bro. So you can sit here and you can shoot your slugs. You was raised in an environment where you didn't have to support, violence or whatever. And that's why we should support school choice. Fuck school choice and anybody that believes in it. I said it. And I'm running for school board because school choice was only created to circumvent Brown versus the Board of Education. Black man. And if you don't get that, then I clearly understand that you must have lived next door to Wally and the Beaver.
I'm gonna say this too about the Asian that shot the little 6-year-old. So if you guys don't know, the Asian man named Ryan Lee Nguyen, he shot his black neighbor 6-year-old for getting his bike out of his yard. Originally, he ran after him with a sledgehammer, but as Kobe, the little boy, he says, I was too fast for him and he missed. And then the Asian shot out of his window and ended up shooting the little boy in his arm. It was not life-threatening. It grazed him. Thank God it only grazed him. So originally his bail was $10,000. He bailed out, but a new judge looked at more information and said that he needs to pay at least $100,000 cash to get out. And so he is now back in custody. So.
But everything, again, with us comes back to the resources and the lack of resources that we have. Some people in the comment are saying, we need to build our own communities. And we need to do, we know all this, but how do you build our own communities when the systematic racism that we face prevents us from doing that? So what they do is, let's say we do go to prison. They make money off of us even when we're in the prison. You want your little snacks and stuff. That's why Big Mama is, not Big Mama, but your girl is sending you money so you could be comfortable in jail while your kids ain't got no shoes on their feet and, or no diapers to put on their butts because they're sending money to make sure you're comfortable. They're making money in every aspect off of people going to jail. But our lack of resources, we know we should be doing this. We should be making our own community. How do you make your own community when the system that is in place right now, this is not Wakanda, we are in hell right now. The system that is in place right now prevents us from doing so. And then we have our break-off communities. You got Black people that think because they identify as LGBTQ LMNOP, they're a different class. And then you got these people that are going to do this and these people that are going to do this. We can't even unify in regards to staying on message as we see that's going on in the comments right now. If you want to support Trump, Ragnar, go ahead and support Trump. But again, here you are talking about what people shouldn't do, whatever. But just like Demetra said, this man has over 30 criminal court cases pending. And yet here you are caping for white supremacy for a man that wouldn't even have a beer with you if it came down to it. So, lack of resources is what's so important and why we need reparations. The only thing that is going to save us at this point, because in 9 years, our vote's going to be irrelevant. Your vote's irrelevant. We have lack of wealth and resources. That means you're a slave at that point. So if we don't get our shit together and get the right people in the office that are actually going to do something, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. We have 9 years. That's the reality of the situation that we face.
Well, the one thing that I learned being on this journey trying to help youngsters and slow down violence is that, Ragnar, the violence shall not be contained in the ghetto. Let me break that down for you, homie. When they figure out it ain't nothing else to steal in our neighborhood, they coming to yours. When it ain't nothing to murder no more in our neighborhood, they coming to yours. So it behooves me that you would sit there and say some of the things that you're saying. But the reason that we can't get to the point of group economics or get to where we need to be, like Demetri and Donovan is saying, because Negroes cannot come together. See, you're a Negro. You were born a Negro. You woke up a Negro today, and you're going to go to bed one tonight. But see, it take all us Negroes to get together. See, because all of them on code. All the white folk on code, all the Asians on code, the Latinos on their own code. But see, Negroes all over the place. We all over the place. When they talk about Asians, they talk about Asians. That's an Asian hate crime bill. It doesn't say anything for us, so I can imagine what they name ours. The Black and all their friends hate crime bill. All these people have been individualized. So when there's a lack of resources in the community, there's a lack of the ability to get a quality job. You see what I'm saying? Then you're setting people up, and it comes back to bite you. See, I don't have to speak on the city of Houston. I stood in city council 3 years ago and told them, y'all gonna turn this place into Chicago. Oh, they thought I was crazy. What are you talking about? Memorial Day, 14 murders. Memorial Day weekend, 14 murders in the city of Houston. And now everybody with power, the resources to do something about it, don't have a clue. The mayor sitting up there with a finger up his fucking mouth in a press conference and don't know what to do. Because realistically, you down with them people, man. You need the violence to continue in the African-American community so that you can gentrify it. That's the big issue right there. You need to run the Negroes out so that you can gentrify it. And the problem is, Demetri, welcome to the city of Houston. But it seems like we don't ever get Hurricane Katrina. There are no levees to blow to run these knuckles out of these black neighborhoods like they did in New Orleans. You see what I'm saying? They want to gentrify the community. So the way that you do it, you let it turn into hell. And now the investors can come in and buy up the properties and force all the low-income people out. And they can build their townhouses. And when they finish building the townhouses, here come the dog trails and the bike trails. And then before you know it, Becky's walking a goddamn dog talking shit to you in the black community when you don't know where the hell Becky came from.
Yep, and that's it. It's all by design. We are just not in the know of, why it's by design. And like you said, then they're always talking about building these low income housing or affordable housing, buildings and stuff. That's so they can get all the Negroes back in one spot. They know where you at. They can create these Cabrini Greens all over again and the Carters, all that. Keep them, contain all the Negroes in one spot. We can have these neighborhoods back. But like you said, they want the gentrification. I mean, the homicides to happen. It's like I said, it's city sanctioned homicide, or where people are allowed in a way to just continue to do it. You have to wonder too, why some of these people get these low bonds for murder. Is it so they can go back out and continue start off where they finished? I mean, it's like, what is it really all about? But I think we really need to open our eyes to that. These murders are allowed to continue. They're allowed to continue for a reason. So, they can take it back over. And you guys know anything about the eugenics program, they wanted to get rid of us right after slavery because we became a burden. We were a burden on society. And in some aspects, we still are a burden on society. And so they can't really outright just sterilize us like they used to. it's against the law. They can't outright kill us. So they let us do it. That's a form of eugenics, by depleting a neighborhood of its resources. And, like you said, the mayor's like, well, we need the community to help with the resources. No, we want the same resources that the white folks get when, they see a Negro walking through their community. We want that manpower in our community. And a lot of times people get it confused, like, well, you guys saying you don't want the police. No, we don't want the murderous police in our neighborhoods. We want the police officers that go to Beverly Hills and the River Oaks coming there like they got some sense. Those are the police officers we want. We don't want the ones coming in the neighborhoods knocking heads around and acting like Rambo and, killing black people because I was afraid. We don't want those police officers. We want law and order like everybody else, but we want it like everybody else gets it.
Well, there could be more resources, Donovan, that could come into the city of Houston. My good friend Mike Moe, who let me show you how black people work. Mike came up with an idea to send these kids, inner city kids, to Prairie View A&M for a football camp. I reached out to a lot of people, and I forgot to thank Demetra. I didn't get to you, Donovan. We didn't connect, but Demetra sponsored one of those kids. I sponsored 6 from my old high school. And the goal was just to get 40 kids. It's 116 kids going to camp. So I told Mike the other day, I said, I love you for what you did, bro. And he said, man, I wish you was here so you could go with us. I said, I probably won't be here. But I say next year, let's not only take them to Prairie View, let's take them to Coach Prime. Let's take them to Jackson State. You see but 116 kids didn't have to pay anything because the community woke up and came together and said, we're going to sponsor these children. Now, Mike sent me a text today. He made a post today. And he said there was a company that wanted to bring 300,000 jobs to the city of Houston. They backed out for 2 reasons. Too much crime and the school system is failing. Hold on a second. Y'all got school choice. Why the system failing? Realistically, they're doing the same thing on the school side that they're doing on the crime side with the gentrification. They're allowing the school system for black children to implode. Do y'all have a clue? And Demetra, you've done it. Didn't you give birth to a genius? You gave birth to a genius. We all gave birth to geniuses. How did our geniuses end up dummied down? Because you put them in an educational system that's designed to cripple them. Don't tell me about school choice. Tell me about creating equity to where if the white kids got something in their school, the black kids got the same thing. You know why they won't never tell our story from a football perspective, Donovan? And I'm going to tell you the truth. Because Dallas Carter's story got told because they kids went out and they robbed a bunch of liquor stores and they got caught up. They had won the state championship, and then every week they were disqualified. They had to fight to get back in. They told Odessa's story because these are little small white boys that run the state of Texas. They wouldn't tell our story. You know why? Because the first year of House Bill 72, the no class, no play law, it was 65 of us. We only lost 1 kid because he flunked 1 class. You won't tell the story of the black kids that in the classroom we were monsters just like we were monsters on the field. They only glorify the negative side of Black America. But you won't tell the truth that you created the negative side of Black America by pumping this dope into my neighborhoods, by pumping these guns into my neighborhoods, by not treating us the way that you treat the white communities, like Demetra said. So don't come at me about nobody selling dope, because if they had a decent job, they wouldn't have to sell it. My girls wouldn't have to sell their bodies to be able to take care of their families if they could find a decent job. These people are just as much at fault for the demise of the Black community as the people that are there that can do better that refuse to. But you know what? We could fix it. We could fix it. But the one thing we got to do to get on code, Ms. Demetri, I'm looking at, we got to leave some of these Negroes behind. And not the ones that don't want to listen, not just them, but them goody two-shoe Negroes that think they better than everybody else.
Let me say this really quick too, Donna, before you jump in. So you talk about the job pool. They said they couldn't bring the 300 jobs in. Well, a lot of times people don't realize is a lot of companies won't bring certain jobs into certain neighborhoods, and our neighborhoods is one of them, because the talent pool does not qualify for those, let's say, corporate jobs, the admin jobs. And so with the failing school systems in our neighborhoods, the talent pool equates to that of a fast food worker. I mean, let's just keep it real. And that's all by design. And so my daughter hit me to something the other day, because I remember saying this a couple weeks ago. You know, to me, it's strange that Texas, you know, they're going about their abortion law the way they're going about it, and they're starting to follow suit in a lot of other places. And my daughter said they're not making women keep their babies because, you know, it's wrong per se. They're making women keep their babies because they need to continue on building a labor force. And a lot of times when women have babies who are single moms and, you know, they lack resources, then they continue to, unfortunately, train kids to be in the labor force. And I'm talking about like your fast foods, your retail and all of that. And that's predominantly us. And so it's by design that our school systems fail. And it's not the corporation's fault. Like if you had a corporation, would you send your Teslas or your, you know, big time admin jobs smack dab in the hood? You wouldn't, because for one, the crime is high, and two, there's no talent pool to do that. They want people with degrees and, you know, the knowledge and stuff to do that, which is also why you see a lot of fast food restaurants and, you know, retail stuff in our neighborhoods, because that's what the talent pool, unfortunately, is comprised of. And you go all the way back to the failing school systems.
You don't teach them entrepreneurship in the schools. There's one principle that is, I talked to them the other day. You realistically don't teach entrepreneurship in the school. You don't have the same curriculum in African-American schools that you have in white schools. I know that for a fact. You don't even fund them the same in HISD. You know, you could be in a black neighborhood, your school funded one way, and the white neighborhood is funded differently. You see what I'm saying? So it's all by design and set up for us to fail. But we don't want to understand that. And to answer your question, Ragnar, tell a story about how if we were on the team, we passed so we could play. I'm going to break this down to you, dude. We lost one kid. So that means out of 36 seniors, 31 of us got college scholarships. Hold on a second, because Donovan, you the sports dude. What school you know got 31 kids on a football team that get 31 scholarships? None. That means we could do it on the field and we could do it in the classroom. The top half of our graduating class, it was 504 of us. The top half was nothing but athletes. So if you give the kids what they need, and what we need in our school is more trades. They shouldn't have to pay after high school to go to the community college to get a trade that they could get in high school. You see what I'm saying? So when these kids come out of school, some of these kids are put out the house and they got to survive. And some of them go and they apply and they apply and they apply and they won't give them the job. So what they going to do? They got to survive. They got to survive. So if you have never gone through it, you should not be the expert on telling people what they should and should not do. I believe that some of y'all listening to this show with them messed up ideologies, your mama should have got off the dick. She shouldn't have had your ignorant ass, because now we got to deal with you on a daily basis. And the sad part is, I'm being honest with you. Touch your forehead, Demetri. Just touch your forehead. Touch your forehead, Donovan. That's right where Harriet Tubman would have shot your ass trying to get the freedom. because she wasn't going to play with some of y'all. Some of you Negroes are comfortable being slaves nowadays. And I think it's time to lead a black ass on the plantation.
That's exactly where I was going with when Demetria jumped in that one aspect and what you just said. We have these Smiths leaders. Now, we lack resources, right? Do you guys know 25 billionaires have been exposed for paying almost little or no taxes in regards to federal taxes, not their investment taxes. Most billionaires live off their investment tax, but they pay almost no federal tax. Jeff Bezos, Amazon. How many of you guys used to get so excited? Oh, Amazon is coming to our city and they're going to set up and stuff like that. They're going to do all this stuff. Did you guys ever ask yourself, why is it that Amazon wants to come close to the hood? You guys ever ask yourself that? Why do they want to set up so close to the, oh, we're going to bring y'all jobs and we're going to do all this for you. You know, they made all these promises, right? You're at City Hall.
Amazon, Walmart,
right?
Target.
All these distribution centers, they came and did this, right? Logistics, some of you guys are truck drivers. You guys know the secret. Logistics always goes where there's a poor Black and Hispanic population, right? So they give you guys these jobs that you really can't survive off of. You hear horror stories day in, day out, but you applaud at City Hall and your mayor. Oh, they brought 5,000 jobs and they put that on their little re-election campaign. I brought 20,000 jobs to the city part-time. Or we have these super duper $4 billion stadiums that bring in temporary jobs into the community and they're seasonal, whatever the deal is, right? I got a question. When they build all these warehouses and stuff up, and I'm experiencing that in my city right now. Demetria was here and we were fighting tooth and nail. In my city right now, how come you don't see these warehouses where the white folks and the affluent people live? You ever ask yourself that?
Hey, not just the warehouses. Why you don't see these charter schools in their neighborhoods?
Thank you. And that's the thing. We don't ask enough questions because if for years there hasn't been jobs in your community and then all of a sudden they bring these bullshit jobs, why, we don't question that. We don't ask for that. Why can't we have a Google corporate account if they're going to bring jobs? Not $7 an hour jobs. We need $15, $22, $25 an hour jobs. But we always settle for the bottom of the barrel.
So, Demetria, follow me on this. Ragnar say, let the parent choose where the child goes to school. I ain't going to even just dwell on school. I asked you a question and you didn't answer. I said something and you never answered. Why are these charter schools being put exclusively in Black neighborhoods? Why the white community don't have a liquor store on every corner? Why the white community ain't got a church on every corner? So if you can answer that, you can answer my question. Why is it not like that in their neighborhoods? You ain't got to worry about me going live in them because I ain't finna go live over there. I don't drink, but it's good to see my people try to do the right thing. See, we don't want to admit. See, when we get in bed with the enemy, we're going to placate for them all day long, every day. We're going to placate for them. We're going to make excuses for them. So why are these entities not there? You don't place a charter school in a community because the school is failing. You place the charter school in the community where the school is doing decent and you steal all the high-performing kids. Now you're left with a school full of children who were mid-level performers and special ed children. So if you put it in the school where it's failing, why is the level of special ed children so low in the charter schools? They don't want special ed children. And as far as performing high, dude, you never took a STAR test in your life. You never took a state mandated test like that in your life. You're not allowing teachers to teach. These kids don't have the basic fundamentals to survive on. And they're doing it on purpose. And they're trying to exterminate us one by one.
Absolutely. And, just to go back to, the type of stuff, businesses that they put in our neighborhoods is because, like I said, I mean, white people ain't having that stuff in their neighborhoods that we have in our neighborhoods. They're just not. You're not gonna see pawn shops or those the white neighborhoods inundated with pawn shops, checking the cashes and 99-cent stores and the weed shops. You're not gonna see that there. You're not gonna see a distribution center, because we know distribution centers in neighborhoods bring the housing down, because then you got all this trucking traffic. It's just a lot. So it brings the price of the housing down. But white people are proactive. And I'm not saying all Black people aren't, but it's not enough of us. White people, they know about the stuff going down before first nail goes into the ground to build any of that stuff. And they say, not on our watch. Otherwise, we will vote you out. We will take, our resources away from the city council, whatever it is we need to do to make sure that those things are not in our neighborhoods, because they also know when you build certain things in neighborhoods, then you have certain traffic coming through that neighborhood. You can drive through any of our neighborhoods and see that stuff and see what is going on, especially like outside of liquor stores and those type of things. So that they're just not going to have it. But we unfortunately don't know that those things are going on until it's built. You're like, oh my God, when did they build another liquor store up in there? And us being so who we are, unfortunately, instead of us saying, well, we're not going to go there. We're going to keep our business and our money away from there. We're like, oh, okay, it's a new store. We're going to go up in there. And then, they continue to do it. And yeah, Ragnar, you say Black people are proactive too. Yes, we are. But collectively, we are not proactive enough. So always thinking, and I know, I don't care if you're a Trump supporter, but I know how some of y'all think, especially you Black ones. You guys think that you're the exceptional Negro and that, if I did it, then everybody can do it. But always know that when we say Black people, we're talking about the collective. We're not talking about the individual Negro that made it out and, feel like they, like they're all of that. You may be, but just think as the collective, because everybody else thinks as a collective. Asians, white people, Hispanics, they all think as one. They don't think on an individual basis. So yes, there are Black people that are proactive, but it's not enough of us to make a big giant mark to be proactive, if that makes any sense.
Kids, they created this mental illness trap that I call. If a kid was hyper, all of a sudden you had to put him on medication. You put him on medication. You labeled him something. When you put him on the medication, you put him in special ed. Special ed used to be 8, 9 kids that got to school early, ate lunch early, and left early. They walked down the hallway by themselves. How do you have a school population of 800 kids and 400 of them labeled special ed? How do you do that? But you don't find that in the white schools. I'm sorry, but you don't.
Well, the other part of that too is, like you said, Gary, it's a hustle, and it's us not. We fall prey to the appeal to authority. Well, if a teacher, because a lot of times we know when they want to label one of our children special ed or something, they bring in the teacher, they bring in these psychologists from the school, and they bring in the counselors, and they bring in all this muscle, and then we sit there with the lack of knowledge and saying, well, if all these people are saying my child is special ed, then it must be true. So I'm just going to go along with it instead of saying, hell no. What you're not going to do is label my child because maybe they had a bad day, or you can't deal with my child, or you've already preconceived my child to be something that he or she is not. We fall prey to authority. And, we just need to get more education and stop allowing them to label our children, because that follows them wherever they go from that point on.
So I like Jonelle's comment. Why are there no gun shops in the Black community, more or less gun ranges in a Black community supplied with weapons? Why are we as Black people so embedded in degradation? Why you ain't got no gun shops in our community? You ain't got to put none. You done dropped off all the guns. You ain't got to put none in our community. You dropped the guns off. So, and it just kills me that some of our people that are so highly educated have been brainwashed by the books that they read. They've been brainwashed by the books that they read. You're not as educated as you think to even debate this point. So why are there no gun shops in the Black community? Imagine if they hadn't dropped the guns off. Like last night, me and Walter, we didn't debate. I was just giving him some good insight. Walter said, I got my 9mm. I go up in Conroe. Dude, that 9mm in Montgomery County to them motherfuckers back there in them woods. That motherfucker got M16s back there, man. You see what I'm saying? So the thing is we don't have what we need from a resource side to get us to a point that as a collective unit, as Demetra said, that we can start making inroads and progress. Because every time we try to make the inroads, they throw up a roadblock. You're not going to see that school get the resources that it needs. In our neighborhood, you had Ryan Middle School. They're still their old building, but as long as them Black kids was in there, they wouldn't do shit to that building. They wouldn't fix it, no technology. Oh, this building needs to be torn down. So what they did is they ran the Black kids out. And now they bus all of the white kids and the Asians over into this Black community to get an education. Walk in that building now, it looks like NASA. They got every piece of technology that you can name. But as long as they were Black kids in there, they wasn't going to do that.
And you bring up a good point. Here's my question for you, Demetra, and it's just a question. Why is it that we are the only group in this country as a collective that just gives our tax dollars away and we don't question one dime of where that money goes, how it's spent, even though a lot of those tax dollars is used against us? Why is it that we're just like, next tragedy, next thing? Why? I mean, we don't react to anything anymore. I'm sure you heard about that those 3 girls that were twerking on a police car. Did you hear about that thing like that? Now, when I saw that, this is just my opinion, when you see women twerking on a police car, that is a form of surrender. They've basically just given up. They're just saying, you know what? I'm not a threat. I'm just having fun, blah, 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 blah. But we're the only group that reacts this way. And I'm not saying it's up to me to judge or say what's right and what's wrong. But collectively, we are the only ones that let people take our money, our tax dollars, do what they want to do with it, when we should be using those tax dollars to go back into our neighborhoods and keep our neighborhoods up. We don't say a word, but then we complain about all the other groups. Why is that?
It's the same reason why we don't question what the pastor is doing with the money. We just don't feel like it's our right to do that. And a lot of us don't know that we can do that. Again, it's that appeal to authority. I don't, a lot of people, not just Black people, but a lot of people just don't even think to say, hey, or even try to connect the dots that, well, wow, my money, because I'm a taxpayer, is paying for that. I deserve answers. A lot of people just don't connect the dots and think they have the right to, but it's really the same reason why we go to church and give a lot of our money to the church, but our neighborhoods are dilapidated. There's no benevolent fund, but we see the pastor with, the latest cars and shoes and houses and, vacations and stuff, and everybody else in the church is struggling, which is like, well, I'm doing what he says to do. I'm following instructions of the Lord. It's the same thing. The politicians, if they say it's best that we have another, because like you said too, Donovan, when we see another business come into the neighborhood, regardless of what it is, the first thing some of us will say is, ooh, it's a job. It's more jobs. But it's like, is that a job that will help you sustain living? Like I was talking to my daughter.
Or get out of the living. Yeah.
Right. And I was talking to my daughter, and a song came on the radio. it was an old school, old song. And I said to her, I said, you know, this was during a time when a person could get one good job, work 8 hours, come home, wife didn't have to work, the kids was taken care of, and they were happy, you know, during that time. But I said, now, you know, the jobs that they put in our neighborhoods, you can't work just there unless you don't have any bills. You got to work there, then, the job across the street, and then maybe the one around the corner to just basically make it. And so,
and none of those jobs are Black owned in most cases.
Right. And they're not. And the real money goes from the neighborhood into those other people's neighborhoods, and we get to keep the $7.25 an hour or whatever minimum wage is in those neighborhoods. And so we just have to start questioning. We have to start questioning and stop being in victimhood mode and letting people do stuff to us. There's a city council meeting for a reason. It is for the people to go, and they give you time. You guys have seen Gary do it. Donovan has done it a copious amount of times. I sit there and roll my eyes. But they give you a chance to go and speak your mind or oppose things and give your ideas, but we just don't do that. So it's really all about knowing. The more you know, then you can act accordingly.
So Ragnar, you said a little bit too much now. You said hold them accountable, and Third Ward is still ghetto. Depends on where you go in Third Ward. Go to the gentrified section of it. Have you ever done some research on Third Ward? Can you find an apartment in Third Ward that's under $1,200? $1,200 is what some of these people are paying. I get it, bro. This is my last comment to you. You're too far gone for me. You're too far gone for me. I agree with you. I don't. Somebody was saying on a thread here that they need to provide training so that people can get skills to get jobs, but that was in the schools. They took it out, and they took it out for a reason. Y'all don't understand the big picture of what they've done. It's a bigger picture. When you're trying to kill a race of people, you don't start with the old people. They'll die all fast anyway. You kill the youth first. You kill them first. The first way you kill them is you don't educate them. Because if you don't educate them, then they have no means of taking care of themselves. You see what I'm saying? Most likely they'll end up doing what they need to do. They'll end up in jail, and that's what it is. But that's the way it was set up. It was set up like that. And now in 2021, you got the Negro politician that's falling in line right with what they're doing. For a mayor to get on TV and say the community needs to help us, didn't you just give $1 billion last year to your police department? An additional $1 billion? That's going to stop crime, right? No, that's just going to put a bunch of more scared motherfuckers on the streets.
Why not give that money to the people?
They give it to the people, the preaching people.
What I'm saying, yeah. Give it to the people. You want people to get out there and risk their lives for free? You give, some of that $1 billion to the people, maybe somehow deputize people and, get people out there to patrol the streets and hold people accountable and pay them to do it. Then, yeah, people be more willing to do it. But like you said, you give police officers all that money. Why hasn't the crime stopped? Give it to the people who live there.
Exactly. That's the reason that you gave them the billion, because you said it would curb crime. Now it's been proven it doesn't matter how much money you pour into the police department, it doesn't decrease crime. You gave them the resources that you should have gave to the communities. You gave that to them. What you should have done is took that billion and went to them black neighborhoods and built some community centers, the ones that you closed.
Let me ask this real quick, because I just saw the Pioneer. How you doing, the Pioneer? He says, pay the Nation of Islam down in Houston. Don't they got a Muslim brother sitting on the task force board or whatever it is, the task force commission for the city of Houston?
You asking me?
Yeah.
No, Dr. Muhammad is an urban planner.
No, not Dr. Muhammad, somebody else.
That I don't know. I really can't speak on that because I don't know. Not to my knowledge, but I mean, they may have.
Who was Derek? Is there Derek Muhammad or something like that? Somebody like that?
Derek Muhammad is on there. Yeah, it might be Derek.
Okay, so why don't they suggest to pay some of the brothers that are already in the neighborhood? And we know the nation is good at standing post and, patrolling and doing security. Why not pay them to do it?
We can either keep dealing with symbolism or we can address the problem. It doesn't matter if you got an African-American police chief. If you're going to yank his goddamn chain every day, it don't matter. It don't matter if you put an African-American in as a sheriff. If you're going to yank his chain every day, it don't matter. You need resources in the community. When I was coming up, Raglan, you tell me, Ragnar, if I wasn't at school, I was at the YMCA right across from the school. And inside the YMCA was a job training partnership program. That's where I learned how to fill out resumes. That's where I learned how to dress for job interviews. You got to put these things back in the community that were there that kept the children occupied. But if you don't, you're going to reap what you sow. So you can hide out in your suburb. But when them Negroes figure out, I'm in Minneapolis 2 days ago. Before you know it, the looters and the robbers done surrounded a U.S. Marshal's house in the suburbs. Keep playing the game. The violence is coming to a neighborhood near you.
And you said something too profound about the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, I know my siblings and we went to the Boys and Girl Club during the summer and after school because, like you said, there was something to do. And a lot of times those programs were free. You didn't have to pay to do it. Your parents go sign you up and then you show up and you do whatever they have. I learned how to, do gymnastics there and, a whole host of things for free. But to your point, if children get out of school and there's nothing for them to do, because a lot of times parents can't afford, to put their kids in a lot of these sports because it costs money. But if they have a program to go to, then it keeps them busy.
The YMCA across from Yates saved a lot of black children, not just boys, but girls, because you had people like Calvin Murphy, Hall of Fame basketball player that came through there with his world famous drum line. Jolanda Jones, former city councilwoman, was one of the kids that grew up around Calvin in his program. You could go to the Y and shoot ball all day. You could go to the Y and learn how to, like I say, with the Job Training Partnership Act. My first job was at the YMCA. But see, we took that out the community. We took that out the community. You don't have a Boys and Girls Club in the African-American community. Sports at the YMCA was free. It was free. Kids could play youth football for free. And a lot of these kids that played for free, like the Mike Singletaries, they ended up going into the Hall of Fame. You took from us and you expected us to still do what we were doing. No, you didn't. That's a lie. You took from us knowing full well what was going to happen. So you created the demise of black people, and now you don't want to own up to it. And that's why you don't want to teach us in the school system what the hell you done actually did to us. So this is way bigger than people could ever imagine. And if they don't want to accept the reality of it, the violence is coming to your neighborhood, especially in Houston, where the crime rate is 31% higher than it was last year at the same time.
Yeah, they're saying across the nation, violent crimes and stuff has moved up. I think about like 8% from last year, and it's on its way up. Of course, the mass shootings are on the way up. But yeah, here in my city, I go to city council all the time, and I see them spending all of this money for the senior center, for this center and that. You know, it doesn't make sense to me how people who are either retired and have resources get all of this funding, and then they wonder why we've got these roving tribes of young people vandalizing property and damaging property because they have nothing to do. And I beat that with a horse all the time, but it just comes down to the have and the have-nots. And unfortunately, a lot of us are have-nots. I go to my park over here and I see the graffiti and stuff, and I don't get mad at the kids. You know, I'm mad, but I'm not mad at the kids. I'm mad at the city because it's all about me, and not collectively for the future. And this is why we do shows like this, and we got to make a stand now, because I don't want my grandkids having to fight a fight that I should have fought before they become grown.
And his comment here is the Congresswoman wants to get rid of menthol cigarettes and legalize marijuana. What you need to do is you need to get rid of alcohol. Alcohol will kill more men than cocaine. Cigarettes can kill more men than cocaine. But see, because they sell cocaine in our neighborhood is the problem. You drop these liquor stores on our corners for a reason. In a song, and I can't remember it. I wish I could remember this song I wrote. But I said something to effect that you keep these niggas prayed up, you keep these motherfuckers drinking. You have a way of controlling the African American community and destroying it all at the same time. We don't have people with the guts to go into these political positions, not let these people buy you off, fight the fight, because it's so easy to buy them off. I see so many groups in Minnesota that have been bought off. And then we can't figure out what's wrong. Dimitri?
Have you ever tried to take somebody's cigarettes from them, hide them, make them stop smoking cold turkey? What was the result of that? Just plumb crazy.
Yeah, just mad.
Going berserk. You know, just you name. I mean, I've done it to somebody, and it was like, oh my God, you know, it was like a gremlin. You know, they just the Tasmanian devil all mixed in one. So it would just make you wonder, why are you trying to snatch the menthol cigarettes? Because you know that's what predominantly Black people smoke, and you want to give them weed. Ain't that something? You got a whole lot of Black people in prison for weed, and all of a sudden you want to give them weed, you want to take their cigarettes. Like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to create mass hysteria. They're not, I mean, come on, it's like we gotta be smarter than now. The menthol cigarettes are the issue, huh? Not regular cigarettes too, just the menthol cigarettes? Come on.
And the malt liquor.
Keep going. But all this is in. You dropped crack off in our community, and you didn't treat it. You sent us to jail. Meth shows up, and it's an epidemic. And you got every way in the world of dealing with it. But for us, it's a problem. Can we get our land that you owe us? Well, you got a hatred for Black people. So you ain't gonna give us our land. But wasn't it yesterday the Supreme Court ruled that half of the state of Oklahoma belongs to the Indians? These people finna get paid again. And we ain't got a goddamn thing. So don't tell me about niggas selling dope. Man, if you ain't gonna give it to them, they gonna take it.
It's been prophesized too that the taking is going to take place. It's called, you know, the rising.
The Final Purge, the movie.
Yeah, the final purge and rising against the machine. It's been prophesied years ago that it would take place. And the things that we're talking about now, as far as racism and all that, that's just, a subsidiary of capitalism. Capitalism is the root of all of this. And so when you starve a person of anything, eventually they are going to fight back. And like Gary said, for those who say, well, I got a supreme premium alarm system, they're not going to get it, and I got bullets. How many of those you think you're going to, how long do you think that's going to last before they get to you? Eventually, like you said, it's going to come to a neighborhood toward you. So it behooves everybody to try to solve the problem and, even it out a little bit. So you don't have, because it's going to happen. What do you think you're seeing now where these corporations and these retailers and these restaurants, they can't find people to work? A lot of people are just fed up, like, I'm done. You're not going to force me back to a situation where I was miserable. I wasn't making ends meet as it was. And so I'd rather try to figure it out on my own. And figure out how to run your business. We're already starting to see that. We're seeing it in the hospitals where nurses are like, I'm not taking this jab. They fired almost 200 nurses in Houston because they said, I'm not doing it. You can't force me to do it. So people are just starting to rise up and say, no more. So we're seeing it unfold before our very eyes.
Yesterday, I was talking to people about executive orders, and you always have those people in there. And one of my friends was a Trump supporter, and he was saying, well, we can't get executive orders. We don't have we don't have the numbers. We don't have the judiciary. Black people can't get a black agenda because we don't have enough judges. We don't have enough representation. We don't have all this stuff, right? Neither did the Asians. Then the comeback was, well, even if we got executive orders, it would be overturned. Okay, so what if it gets overturned? I want the Supreme Court to rule and try to overturn something that they've already set precedents by giving to other people. I want the Supreme Court to rule on if black people should get reparations, for the simple fact that if they say no, we know where we stand in this country, and it's without a doubt, it's time for us to get our shit and go and fight for what's ours. Because what I don't understand is all these other groups are getting stuff, and we have to be patient. We have to keep being patient. Dreamers, these people aren't citizens. Did they get executive orders? Is it being adjudicated in the Supreme Court? It's been over 6 years that it's been adjudicated in the Supreme Court. Illegals, are they getting executive orders? It's been adjudicated in the Supreme Court. LGBTQ LMNOP, did they get executive orders? And was it adjudicated in the Supreme Court? It was. So why are we afraid of getting executive orders that could definitely tell us where we stand with white supremacy and some of these white devils out here? I'm not afraid of executive orders.
And more importantly, you got a president with a pen. He can do whatever the hell he want right now. You got every branch of government, dude. Stop all that foolishness, man.
And Ragnar, you said because we have been sold out by our elected officials. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But the other part of that is we keep voting them in. We keep voting them in and allowing them to sell us out. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We have someone that's been in office 20, 30, damn near 40 years, and they haven't done anything right by the people. Yeah, they dancing, they going down the soul trade line and all of that. But all we've gotten is symbolism, and we keep voting them in. And so some of that is our fault too. Like I said, look out your door, look to the right and the left. And if you see garbage and torn up streets and nothing has changed in your neighborhood the whole time that person has been in office, then you need to change the person you're voting for. They have not done the job. They failed miserably. Send them out to pasture and let them, go. And that's another thing too. The white folks, they don't keep people in office long that's not doing nothing for them. They got to go. But us, they black child, shoot, I'm always going to vote for black people. Well, sometimes that means you're going to always vote for oppression too.
So therefore, you can't keep blaming your oppression on the white man. You blame it on your representation. And that's why I'm proud to sit on this program every night and we can educate people. You don't have to listen to us. Just know when you're quiet, we know we right. Chucks and pearls. When you quiet, we know we right. I don't know how I could do it. Sit in office 4 years, don't do jack shit, and then come to the hood and tell them everything that I've done to help them. Are y'all serious? Boy, dope a motherfucker, man.
They say, did you enjoy that turkey last year? Well, this year we're bringing cranberry sauce. Isn't that something?
I got coupons to the turkey leg hut.
Right, and we be like, ooh, child, yeah, that turkey show, it was moist.
You can tell who getting the money. You can tell who getting the money. Since when you could go somewhere and get a turkey leg and the jab on the same menu?
What is it, New York? They're offering joints for jabs? Like, wait a minute, y'all was locking people up, and you know who that's targeting. Y'all know they targeting us because we like, So they giving the joints for jabs, but it was like not too long ago, you was locking Negroes up for joints. Now you want to give it to us?
Choking Negroes out for selling cigarettes individually.
Yeah, but now we're going to get a joint for a joint? I mean, I can't get a nickel bag at least? Damn.
Get your hair done nowadays. You can get, you can get the jab when you're getting your hair done. Something just tells me that the jab gonna come back to hurt some people.
Yeah, but I really do feel that we are moving toward the final purge, and I guess that's a movie that's going to be coming out. And a lot of these movies that are coming out are, basically prophesizing what is going to come to pass. Because when you have reached the absolute bottom, what's that old saying? When you're at the bottom, there's no other place to go but up. When you've hit rock bottom, there's only one place but that is where Black people are right now. And I mean that to say nobody is addressing the homeless issue that is going to be coming down in regards to a moratorium. Who does that affect more so than anybody else? Black families. So if you think we have a problem now, hey, that PPE loan, do what you got to do. I take some of that money, get an RV, and at least you can park it somewhere and, you have some shelter. Because this government, it's like they're putting the squeeze on us in every direction, knowing that we have no guidance to fight it. And that's where we're staying. We're at the economic bottom. We got 9 years and it's going to be a wrap. We might as well just be slaves at that point.
If you got the PPE loan, start your business. Because when they come for you, they just want you to pay the money back. Start your business. They just want you to pay the money back. Now, if you went out there and bought you a slingshot, you're going to have to go to one of them pawn shops in the hood.
Jonelle says, get a box of food for the jab and a side of death. But you know what? It bet it won't be me. It won't be me. I saw too, California, they are imposing that you have, the jab paperwork to go to big events now. Well, Florida they tried that with Florida, like with cruise ships, and Florida says, well, we just don't want your business here. And the cruise ship is like, okay, well, we won't make them show that they've had the jab. And so I'm one of those people who have not had the jab, and I'm not going to get it, at least until I find that it's safe, and who knows how long that's going to be. But I agree with Florida. I don't think it's right that you force people to show that they've been jabbed. I don't think that's right. I mean, because some people just don't want it for a whole host of reasons. But yeah, you gonna make me get something in order to participate in society?
Well, see, Demetra, that's where you're kind of messed up and you're losing the entrepreneurial spirit. There is a big Black market of fake ass COVID-19 paperwork that you can get just because there is no database. That's why it's ridiculous for them to make that rule, because there is no database that says this person got the jab, this person got the jab, this person got the jab. So you got a whole bunch of entrepreneurs out there printing up phony paperwork saying, yeah, I got the jab on this day and that day and this day. But I want to address Sunlight. Sunlight said, seriously, just saw a truck riding through my neighborhood with a skeleton tied to the hitch, dragging it. Was that a white person?
They worrying about black folk having a jab. You need to worry about some of them having a crab. Won't you check them for that before they get on the cruise ship?
Sunlight, that sound like the purge right there. That sounds like, yeah, that's pretty scary. But yeah, I mean, there's ways around the system. But yeah, so Ragnar they haven't decided yet, but they are talking about it. He said big events, they're gonna, thinking about making people prove that you have been jabbed up before you can participate. So
well, if you get a fake insurance card, why you can't get a fake jab card?
Exactly.
Right. I want to go to Coachella. They started selling tickets to that. I want to go to Coachella next year, but if I got to prove that I've been jabbed, well, depends on who's going to be there, though. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, they ain't got to worry about me because I ain't taking it. I ain't taking it. I don't give a damn. I got health issues, and I ain't had no health issues besides the ones I have since this shit started. And I ain't finna be dealing with no congestive heart failure. I'm not dealing with none of that. I don't have none of that. So if you feel like you got to run out there and need people pandering to the black community with that foolishness, why you ain't up in the white community doing all that? Why you ain't over there telling them people, look, if you're a pedophile and you get the jab, we'll let you go.
Wait for it. Just wait for it.
Final thoughts, Mr. Donovan.
My final thoughts is they're killing black folks out there, y'all. So keep your head on swivel. We're getting close to Friday. Don't want you guys to be an accident. Not only are they killing us in the streets, they're walking right into our homes. So you guys, please, seriously, be careful out there. Don't think it can't happen to you, because it can. I mean, and that's just where we're at right now. So I'm going to leave it with that. And again, I'm going to tell you guys, please, please, please hit that donation button, and let's, continue to donate as we get closer and closer to the election. Things are going to start gearing up, and it takes money to run a campaign. And we want to get our candidate on that school board to give a damn about our children and see a change in the Houston school system.
And my final thoughts are, if we want to do something about the crime in our neighborhoods, we need to focus on building resources and options for our people to have something to do and to have an income while doing it, like every other community does, right? And so that'll be part of it. And like Gary said, start building programs outside of the school, do something about the failing school systems. And then, the blame is on us too, as parents, by not being as involved with our children the way we used to be. So it's a collective of things, but I would say start with building resources in the neighborhood so we can start solving our own problems. And if the mayor wants the community to get out there and help get rid of crime, then start cutting checks to people.
You're gonna cook.
Yeah, we can hear you, Gary. Yeah. So start cutting checks to people. Start cutting checks to people, and they'll say, okay, I feel good about what I'm doing because I'm getting a paycheck. You're not asking me to go out there and risk it all for free. Start right there.
Final thoughts. It's better to have money and not need it than to need it and not have it. My people, you need to wake up and understand that it's real. And maybe God himself, the higher power, put these three prophets together to give you the information every night. And every now and then, we bring in our special made deacon to teach you about finance. So here's my thing. From an educational standpoint, we can either fight for them or we accept the consequences of our actions of not fighting. They identify your children as early as the 3rd grade for prison beds, not for college dormitories, but for prison beds. And we need to step up to the plate, do what we have to do, because our kids deserve it. As a community, we need to start policing ourselves. They can't seem to do a good job of it. We need to do it ourselves. So it's always an honor to hang out with y'all, man. And thank y'all, the ones that have donated to the campaign. We still got work to do, baby. We got work to do, because they're going to have to beat us November 2nd. They're going to have to beat us November 2nd. But Saturday, 6 o'clock, I'm pulling out the Phantom. I'm pulling out and I got some tricks up my sleeve for this video shoot. But I ain't going to tell you. Come on, hang out with your boy. The flyest election candidate you're going to ever see in your life. I'll make sure I'm nice and shaved up. I'll make sure them things is blinging. Oh, yeah. I think Big Daddy had them on. I might even make it rain. It ain't no telling what I'm going to do. But Saturday, you're going to find out. Sunday, 10 o'clock, Scott Plaza. We're going to the hood and take care of the hood, because I ain't got time to be waiting on no politicians to do it. So I'm going to go and see what I can do to help my people with the little resources I have. See, those are what we were talking about earlier, resources. And see if I can help my people and put a smile on some of these kids' faces so that they can have a good summer, because we all know, and then I'm going to get out of here. When them kids get out of school, the heat gonna turn up on the streets. And that's when that crime rate gonna go through the roof. I hope you got a dog at home. Say, man, it's the reason we the best in the business. It's the War Zone every night. YouTube, Facebook, 7 o'clock. I want to thank my good friend Donovan Sadiq, the Queen Demetra K, and I am the 5-star general. Until tomorrow night, we gonna holler at you. Saturday, I'm taking over the city. What you gonna do about it? Titties! It's going down. See you in front of Ye Saturday, 6 o'clock, man.